Welcome to this explainer. If you really want to understand how Russia became this absolute superpower in the chess world during the 20th century, we have to rewind. We got to look back at the one visionary who literally built the foundation from the ground up, Alexander Petrov, the father of Russian chess. Let me ask you this. Have you ever faced the Russian game in your own matches and just completely struggled to handle its rock-solid structure? I mean, if you play chess, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's literally like running headfirst into a brick wall. It is just so famously frustrating to crack.
Well, behind this centuries-old opening, which you probably know formally as the Petrov defense, starting with e4, e5, then knight f3, knight f6, there's actually an incredible story. It's wild to think this opening is still used by today's top grandmasters to just completely neutralize White's first move advantage. And the mastermind behind the whole shebang? A teenage prodigy born in Bizarova, Russia. Long before Russia was the chess giant we know today, this kid emerged as the absolute strongest player in his entire country.
And his dominance wasn't just some brief flash in the pan. Get this, for an astonishing 50 years, Petrov was the undisputed king of Russian chess. Half a century at the absolute top. During this insane reign, he was consistently taking down prominent contemporaries, like the absolute best players of his day. Guys like Yashin, Ursov, and Shumov. Just imagine holding the #1 spot in your field for 5 decades. It's practically unheard of, and it cemented his status as a total living legend in the 19th century. But here's where the irony of Petrov's legacy really kicks in. While the modern Petrov defense is infamous for being this rock-solid, highly defensive, neutralizing tool, well, Petrov's personal playing style was the exact opposite. He was a true master of the combination style. He played open positions with just fierce aggression. He'd use rapid advancement of his pieces, launch these totally fearless attacks, and honestly, he wasn't even fazed by material sacrifices. He must have been an absolute thrill to watch on the board. And Petrov didn't just play the game either. He elevated the entire sport to a professional standard in Russia. When you look at his timeline, from publishing the very first Russian manual in 1824, to his famous immortal game in 1844, and then founding the St. Petersburg Society in 1853, right up until his death in Warsaw in 1867, you can see he was systematically building a permanent chess culture, literally from the ground up. Section 1. The Educator and a Visionary. So his creative output was just staggering. Back in 1824, he published this massive 5-part chess manual that basically served as the Bible for generations of Russian players. This work introduced totally brand new concepts on active defense and position evaluation. But he didn't stop at textbooks. He was also a storyteller. He wrote detailed accounts of the lives of famous chess masters, and he was a renowned composer of chess problems. He actually crafted a super famous problem called the Retreat of Napoleon I from Moscow. Then, Petrov took his vision a step further in 1853. He founded Russia's very first chess club, the St. Petersburg Chess Society. And this wasn't just some dusty back room for locals to push pawns around. No, it became a major intellectual and cultural hub. It carried so much prestige that actual literary giants, we're talking Leo Tolstoy and Ivan Turgenev, regularly gathered there to play. Petrov was out there actively connecting the intellectual elite of Russia through a simple game of chess. Section 2. Petrov's immortal masterpiece. Now, all of that aggressive brilliance we talked about earlier, it peaked in 1844 in what is famously known today as Petrov's Immortal. Playing against Alexander Hoffman, Petrov unleashed just an absolute masterpiece of attacking chess. It's a visual highlight of 19th century gameplay. But more than that, chess historians celebrate this specific match as the absolute finest example of castling in all of chess history. It perfectly encapsulated his fearless combination style, always prioritizing devastating attacks over playing it safe. Section 3. The Second Philidor. When Petrov sadly passed away in 1867, the entire chess world mourned a giant. The prominent German chess magazine at the time, the Sachzeitung, bestowed a massive honor upon him, declaring him simply the Second Philidor. Now, for context, calling someone the next Philidor is basically the highest possible praise you could give. It was a total acknowledgement of his status as one of history's absolute greatest and most brilliant chess minds. It really goes to show that his impact wasn't just limited to Russia, It was truly felt worldwide. Which kind of leaves us with this fascinating final thought to ponder.
How did the aggressive, completely fearless foundation built by this one single 19th century visionary directly birth the absolute dominance of the 20th century Russian chess school? A guy famous for wild attacks and material sacrifices ends up inventing a defense we now view as the ultimate neutralizing tool, and in doing so, he essentially taught a whole nation how to conquer the chess world. It really makes you rethink every time you see those early pawn moves on the board, doesn't it? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep that curiosity alive.